Hello, and welcome to the Inside Track. This month, Lisa Robinson's special guests are Roger Waters and David Gilmour of Pink Floyd.
I'm Lisa Robinson, and welcome to the Inside Track. In its early psychedelic incarnation, Pink Floyd was one of the great bands of the 1960s, founded by the legendary Syd Barrett and Roger Waters. In the 1970s, the lineup included original Floyd members Roger Waters, Nicky Mason, and Rick Wright, plus Barrett replacement David Gilmour. Their album, Dark Side of the Moon, has been on the charts now for over 540 weeks, and they achieved worldwide success culminating with the album, stage show, and movie The Wall. Today it seems as if Pink Floyd is finished. Roger Waters and David Gilmour have both concentrated on solo albums and separate tours. Roger Waters finally broke his silence on the subject when I asked him how he felt doing his own new music and some of Pink Floyd's greatest hits with his new band.
It's terrific.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know, it just is. There's no aggravation, there are no, political problems. It's more fun, less pressure.
When I talked to David Gilmour recently, he was really almost painfully tactful about the situation with Pink Floyd. Have you been a bit more outspoken about it in terms of whether there is a future?
I don't see any future for the band.
Why?
Because we don't want to work together anymore.
Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Not really. No.
Okay. The band always was sort of thought of as your band in a way. Do you think that was very difficult for the others?
You'd have to ask them that.
But for you even to be aware of that kind of problem and that kind of tension.
Yeah, of course it's difficult. Yeah, of course it is. If you've got something that's pretending to be a group, and that many years ago probably was, when it slowly becomes one person's work, then of course it's very difficult for everybody. Which is probably why it's more fun for me doing this. Because, those are the problems that don't exist anymore.
Is this more honest then? Because
Far more, yeah. There's no pretense involved now, which makes things much easier. I wrote a lot of this record at the same time as I wrote The Wall. In fact, I made demonstration tapes. What I usually do is I jot ideas down just in my head on a piano or guitar or something, and then I work with a 24 track, and I put the thing together in some kind of coherent form and mix it down. So I then end up with a stereo demo of a whole piece, including all the songs. And I made demos of this and The Wall at the same time. And then had lyrics printed up and sets for everybody, and then call the band in and say, here are guys, listen to these. And I said at the time, I think I'll do one of these as a solo piece and one as a band piece, so you pick whichever one you want to do and I'll do the other one solo. And they picked The Wall. On the grounds they claimed that this was too personal. In fact, there was some stuff in The Wall that was too personal as well, which showed up in the movie. There's a song in the movie called When the Tigers Break Free, which is about my father being killed, which had been on the original Wall demo, was part of the piece originally, but which made them uncomfortable because it tied it down specifically to this record is about Roger Waters rather than Pink, which was a worry, reasonably enough, I suppose.
What about the final cut?
Yeah.
We didn't feel that was too personal?
I know Nicky didn't. I know Dave didn't like it. It was very difficult. It was a difficult time making that record. But, either you go on working or you stop working. I paint what I see. I write what I feel. But, in a situation like that, you either say, I don't like that, and then you can have a fight about it. And what happens, happens. That didn't happen when we were making the final cut. I was just left to get on with it.
I asked Roger Waters if he wrote his songs in visual terms or whether he wrote the song first and then figured out the kind of stage production or film that should go with it.
Sometimes images arrive concurrently with musical themes and lyrics, and sometimes it's something that happens later. Clearly with the pros and cons of hitchhiking, the idea of a room out of which you go in various ways. It seemed to me to be the only way to go visually for that bit of the show. Most of it, I think. And after that, of course, a lot of the visuals develop out of which way you decide to go technically. The way I've gone with this show is actually very simple technically. And so what actually arrives, finally, the finished thing, in a way it develops its own life as one starts to make it, put it together. But, the band still haven't seen it, because we know we were supposed to rehearse for a week in England with the 3 projectors, and they never worked. They never got them going for the whole week. So we went out to do the first gig, which was in Stockholm, never having run the show or seen visuals at all. I can tell you it was a very hair-raising night, the first night when we pressed the button, and said, right, go. I've never seen so many wild, staring eyes in my life as that band walking onto the stage. They hadn't the faintest idea of what was going to happen. Neither had I, whether it was going to work or not. And that was one of the biggest buzzes of my life, that first night, when it all happened. You could see everybody relaxing and starting to play. And it became obvious that it was going to work and that the band did work on stage, and it was all hunky-dory.
But it doesn't look technically simple. I mean, you just said technically.
Well, by comparison with The Wall, for instance, which was very complex in terms of the mechanical techniques involved. This is just a screen with some flats in front of it and a few projectors.
Do you feel that you've been misrepresented, possibly, in the press? Certainly, you haven't done any interviews, really. You've been considered reclusive and dark and somber and serious. And, I mean, do you think that that's been a bit unfair?
I think the media have been very unfair to me, yeah. Possibly because I've refused to speak to anybody for years and years and years. And they naturally get, a lot of them quite naturally get a bit unnerved by that, yeah. And the response is, of course, to deny my work, to pretend it doesn't exist.
Well, what do you mean deny your work? Do you think that
Well, it's not the same over here, but where I live in England, my work is ignored.
It's not fashionable.
It certainly isn't fashionable, but I honestly don't know why. I don't know why it is. But there's something about it, or maybe there's something about me that makes them absolutely pretend it doesn't exist. I think I must make some journalists uncomfortable. I'm neither one thing nor the other, I think they feel that it's very pretentious of me to try and to express serious feelings working within the context of rock and roll. It feels as if everything is under control now. The machine is winning the battle. They've decided what the market is. They know who the market are, and they know how to sell whatever it is to them. The kind of culture club syndrome is manna from heaven to the machine, because it's so easy to sell. There's no danger there because nobody has to think about anything. No questions are asked about anything. It's nice, simple entertainment.
Do you see yourself really in the rock and roll genre?
Yeah, it's a comfortable place for me to be at the moment. I keep, toying with the idea of moving into theatre. I might even develop Pros and Cons as a piece for theatre. That was my original intention before Eric dragged me out onto the road.
Well, now, are you having fun on the road so far?
Yeah. The first date in Hartford was a drag. There were cherry bombs and they were shouting and screaming, and I stood on stage and I thought, what the hell am I doing here? This is horrible. And the second night was great, and the band are really enjoying themselves.
Do you think that you had to play some of your earlier material in order to sort of appease audiences, or is it something that you wanted very much to do?
It's the only thing. I didn't have any options. What else could I do? Have a support band, which I don't like to do that. I think, if your name's on the ticket, you should do the show. And all of the show. And I always did that with Pink Floyd. We always played. We never had any support. And that's all I have is my old songs. I've quite enjoyed doing them again. So one or two of them, I think, have gained a great deal from, in their resurrection in the new band. Wish You Were Here, for instance, I think is great now. I really like the way we do it. Well, quite a few of them have improved considerably.
I'm Lisa Robinson, and I'd like to thank Roger Waters for joining us on the Inside Track. I'll be back with David Gilmour after this. Welcome back to the Inside Track. When I spoke to David Gilmour, I asked him if he felt that Pink Floyd's most recent album, The Final Cut, was the last straw for him as a member of the band.
Well, it's obviously, no real secret that The Final Cut personally for me wasn't everything that it could or should have been. We have had a number of disagreements on The Final Cut, which resulted in Roger really basically producing the album himself, because I disagreed with the way it was being done so radically that it was counterproductive, me having an involvement in the production of it, really. In the end, I don't personally like the album very much. I think there are 3 great tracks on it. But a lot of it...
3? I read that you said 4, but that you said that 4 wasn't enough.
No, 3. 3 great tracks, I think, that are on it, and 3 certainly isn't enough. And, some of the rest is okay, and some of it is substandard to me. I think the album overall is a substandard album. Roger probably still thinks he was right about the way it was done. I still think he was wrong. But that's one of those things.
Did you ever get to the point where you thought so much that he was wrong that you really just wanted to walk away from Pink Floyd?
I wanted to walk away from that project, yeah. But not from Pink Floyd, times change, It was a problem really because we went into it without having set the ground rules. We never sort of sat down and said, right, in a month we'll start making an album and this is how we'll do it or anything. We just sort of drifted into it from making a soundtrack for the Wall movie, which became not necessary, and drifted on into making a Pink Floyd record. And I think when and if we do a Pink Floyd project again, I have no idea whether we will, but when and if we do, it will have to be a situation of sort of establishing some ground rules before we go into doing it.
How does this solo album differ for you, other than just the way it's been received, I would imagine, than your first effort?
The first effort was a step taken for me to gain the confidence in what I do. I didn't really know whether I could manage to make a solo record at that time, and it took quite a lot of effort to force myself into the studio and actually start doing something. But when I did it very, very quickly. 3 weeks, finished it, and put it out. And it sold fairly well. Did quite reasonably for me, actually. This one was planned out much more like a Pink Floyd record would be, or anyone else's record, with every intention of trying to establish some sort of a career with it for myself.
When you say it's trying to establish some sort of career, obviously I have to ask you, does that mean away from Pink Floyd, or in addition to?
It means in addition to. I mean, whether or not we do anything again together as Pink Floyd, I really don't know myself at this stage. We haven't got any plans to do anything. But certainly Pink Floyd work is sort of, it's not full-time. And everyone with their commitments, families, businesses of all sorts, often things don't get done at the time when, because of timing problems or individual people's willingness at a certain moment to do something. Pink Floyd don't work, and I need an outlet for myself as an adjunct to that, I suppose.
You're very tactful when you talk about people's willingness to work, but is the implication really that you want to work more than the others? Or more than Roger?
I enjoy making music and playing music. And I, at this moment in time, want to do it more than Roger seems to want to do it within Pink Floyd. Roger's always said that he doesn't like touring very much. I do quite enjoy it some of the time. We obviously have differences of opinion on all sorts of things, major and minor, and have done for the last 16 years. But I have a desire to have a freedom to do things as and when I want to do them. And that involves having some sort of extracurricular career.
Do you think it'll turn into the career? Would you like
Who
it
knows? I don't mind. I could still enjoy doing a Pink Floyd project if everyone sort of wanted to get into one and put everything into it. I'd be very happy to do that. I'm also enjoying what I'm doing right now, solo-wise, sort of touring and making records solo. I would also imagine that I would be happy doing musical collaborations of some sort with other people. All of those things sound like good fun to me, and that's what I'm here for.
I asked David Gilmour if he felt that Pink Floyd had become too pompous and lumbering, and if he felt that his solo project was more fun.
At the moment, it's more fun, yes, but I have had an enormous amount of fun doing Pink Floyd projects. I understand and appreciate a lot of what Roger has said in his lyrics, and I don't think he's wrong, but he just is looking at it from a different angle to the angle that I look at life from.
Do you tend to look at life more optimistically?
I don't know, I'm quite sort of fatalistic, really, but cheerfully fatalistic,
Do you feel that you haven't been appreciated enough in Pink Floyd for the sound of the music that the group makes?
That people don't appreciate what I do or don't know what I contribute?
They don't know what you've contributed, yeah.
Well, I think I've probably been a bit lazy within Pink Floyd, but people haven't stood in my way or prevented me from doing anything that I want to do.
It was sort of felt like it was Roger Waters' group.
Well, I've never felt that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people do think that, a lot of people have been led to believe that, and it's understandable, He's had the majority of the writing credits and has written all the lyrics for everything we've done for the last 10 years. And he certainly deserves more credit within it than I do. But that's not to say I don't want to sound apologetic or anything, but I think my part is vital to making it what it is as well.
Do you think that the solo album has proved that in a way?
Well, who knows? I mean, people will see in the solo album what I do and what I can do.
Right.
And, and they will see also from Rogers what he can do. I mean, you can see from the two where parts fit together, I think. I mean, they just have to draw their own conclusions.
Who do you think is coming to see you now?
I think it's mostly younger, not terribly young necessarily, but younger Pink Floyd fans, mostly, I should think.
What do you think it...
I think most people who get to listen to me or hear what I do started off listening to Pink Floyd things and have moved to me a little bit from, knowing that I was in Pink Floyd.
What do you think that group means to people? In terms of all the things and the changes and the fashions and everything else. You have an album that's on the charts now for 11 years or something. Which is it? 1973, wasn't it?
Well, it came out in March 73, but it dropped out of the charts for a period of time. And then.
So it's not 500 and some odd consecutive weeks?
It is 520 consecutive weeks. 520 consecutive weeks, but that's from when it re-entered the charts after going out from the first run.
What do you think about that?
It's fairly amazing, I think. What can you say? I don't know. It's amazing.
You don't know why?
No.
You don't know what you're touching in people that has caused that kind of fanatic. There is almost a fanatic.
There must be young people going out and buying it on, a small but consistent level, and older people replacing their old copies and stuff on a regular sort of turnover
And why
basis.
that album?
When it came out, when we were finishing it, we all knew that it was the best album we'd made and it would sell more than anything we'd done before, but that didn't mean an awful lot at that stage. We hadn't gone top 30, I don't think, by then, and I don't think we'd sold more than about
Well, that was
250,000 records.
But that was the album that sort of made the transition from being cult band, wasn't it, sort of?
We were a pretty big cult band before then. We could sell out 15,000-seater auditoriums all over the States before then. In terms of live performance, we weren't really a cult band. In terms of records, we were.
I asked David Gilmour if he felt there were always going to be comparisons made between himself, Roger Waters, and Pink Floyd.
What do you think? I think it's inevitable, don't you?
You were prepared for that, though, right?
I don't have any alternative, do I? I mean, I am prepared for it, yes. I accept it. It is something that will happen, so...
What about the competitive nature of it?
There is obviously a competitive element in it. I'm trying to sort of avoid the competitive element as much as possible. Don't want to get tied into that. You know, it's a counterproductive thing to get into, I think.
Mm. Did you specifically...
I would like mine to do better than his, of course.
Well, that's honest.
You take what you get.
When you used to tour in the early days, you know, when it wasn't as massive as what Pink Floyd went through the last time, was there a lot of sort of, I don't know about, in terms of rock and roll early days, carousing, English, on the road, that whole kind of thing that you think of? And now you're here with a family. Completely different kind of experience, isn't it?
Well, the family are here with me right now just for this week in New York.
No, so they're not on the whole thing.
They're not sort of actually touring with me.
See, when they're not here, there still is a lot of carousing.
Mad carousing all night long, every night, yes, of course.
Well, I'll tell you, I was on the Arms tour with Eric Clapton and Ronnie Lane and Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and so forth, and many of them who I've known progressively through the years. And it was just hysterical because with only one exception, I would say everybody was in bed by midnight, was up at 6 a.m, running, playing squash, going to the health club.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so sedate, really. It's funny to sort of watch rock and roll grow up in a way. And just
well, you know, there's young...
As you put on the table, as I'm saying, that day glow, green chartreuse socks with notes on them and red leather shoes. Very sedate, yes.
Very sedate, yes. I told you, I'm trying to enjoy myself.
Right. Is it hard for you to enjoy yourself?
No.
You have to force it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just hard getting up the next morning.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like...
We are all getting a lot older, all these people you're talking about on the Arms tour, and including myself. And the hangovers are worse. We have to start looking after ourselves, you know. And I'm trying to do that as well as enjoy myself. And some nights looking after myself wins out. And some nights rock and roll wins out.